Hey, Jeff Searcy of Servant Warrior Ministries. I get asked the question a lot, what is Servant Warrior Ministries? What are you guys doing? And I wanted to share with you today really about what Servant Warrior Ministries is. And I want to come at you, I want to talk to you from my heart. So it's just me and the iPhone. So please forget the video, the picture quality, the sound quality, but I wanted to share with you from my heart. Servant Warrior Ministries, in a formal definition, we're an organization, a nonprofit group whose mission is to reach generations of men, to empower them and inspire them, and arm them with the weapons to be the men God's created and called them to be. We want to work with churches to develop formidable men's ministries, to serve the men in their congregations, and that's the men of all ages. We want to reach out to men in communities through the media, through events and conferences, to bring them together, to empower them and get them tools. We want to help in the development of local and domestic and international missions programs where men can serve other men and their families right here at home and around the world. But I want to go a little deeper and really give you the core essence of what Servant Warrior Ministries is, because I think it's so important. Because if we miss it, we won't reach the men that we're trying to reach. Servant Warrior Ministries is a radical, relentless, and relevant movement to reach men of all ages where they are and to share with them the love of Christ. That's it. If it gets any more complicated than that, we're going to miss the point. We have to meet them where they are, both figuratively and literally, if we're going to truly reach them in a way and in a way that they can relate. I can tell you we're not going to hang our hat anywhere near the traditional ministry model. We can't. If we're going to be true to our mission, if we're going to be true to reach them and to reach the men that we have been called to reach, we cannot do things the same way. We cannot do it in a traditional method. We've got to be out on the edge of the envelope in sharing the love of Christ. It's not about status. It's not about wealth. It's not about position, popularity. It's not about power. It's not about fitting into a certain mold. It's not about keeping a certain image, saying or doing the right things, looking a certain way, following what I like to call the transactional salvation path. Those are the things that the world looks at. It's not what Christ looks at. The love of Christ is given freely. He gives that freely without requirement. It's not about judgment. Christ did not come into the world to condemn it or judge it. He came in so that it might be saved through him. One thing is for certain. We are likely going to be flying into the face and challenging many of today's societal and oftentimes religious and church norms. It's not adversarial. We're not claiming to be anything more than what we are. But true, if we are going to impact generations of men, we've got to do things differently. We've got to be real. There is a lack of realness today, and I've seen it personally, and we've all experienced at some level. And I'm as guilty as the next guy. But there's a lack of realness among men today. We've been programmed that way. We live in this never let them see you sweat, never reveal your hand, don't show your vulnerability or weaknesses. We live in that kind of age where the creation of a superficial exterior is what we have to have to fit in. I don't have any empirical data or research to show this, but I have a pretty good idea that this is something that's out there. I believe that there's a great number of men, both inside the church and outside the church and in our communities and in everywhere, who outside look really good, look like they've got it all together, look like they're doing things great, but on the inside they are a mess because they're trying to meet some kind of standard that they feel they have to. They're trying to do something or be somebody that they're not in an effort to fit in. We see that across the age groups. Christ came again to come into the world not to condemn it, but that it might be saved through him. He did not come to be served, but to serve. That perspective flies right in the face of so many things that we live in today, that so many of the thought processes and the traditions that we adhere to today. Listen, it was radical then when Jesus walked the face of the earth, and it's radical now. And that radical approach is something that we also take. Jesus and those who followed him were radical. They were considered radical. They challenged the norms of society. They challenged the norms of the church Jesus didn't hang with the church people. He hung with the people outside the church, those who didn't fit a certain mold, those who didn't say the right things, those who didn't look a certain way. He ripped right against many of the traditions and reveal a love that was unconditional. And he always sought to lift people up. He looked beyond what he saw on the face of the superficial, and he looked at the heart. That's what we have to do. But this thing, it just can't happen once and it can't happen twice. It's got to be a relentless pursuit of that righteousness and the sharing of the love of Christ. We've got to move forward despite the opposition that's going to come, and it will come, despite the barriers, despite the arrows that will come from Satan. We know that they're going to fly. The closer we get to doing things and building the kingdom, the harder the attacks are going to come. But that approach has to be relentless. There has to be a consistency that people see in us, in men. If we're truly going to reach men, then they have to see that consistency, that we can't have a fake. We can't have a superficial nature. And you know what? You can't hit them over the head with the Bibles. You know what? You've got to show and share that love of Christ continuously, over and over and over and over again. But it's the relevancy in what we do. We've got to be relevant. We've got to relate to where guys are and meet them where they are, and be able to speak to them of all ages, guys of all ages and all walks and all likes and all backgrounds. If we're not doing that, if we're not relevant in what we're talking about, if we're not relevant in truly helping meet a need that exists in an individual, we might as well close up shop. We're wasting our time. We're absolutely wasting our time, and it's not about that. At a very young age, we've seen it. Guys, we all like to be a part of something. We're attracted to something that we can relate to, that we be a part of. And it starts with kids. You start to hang around the guys who play baseball. You hang out with guys who play baseball. We're fans of sports teams. We have interest, and again, it's about being a part of something that we can relate to and have interest in. Listen, we don't claim to be the end-all, be-all. But you know what? We do know who is. I truly believe in my heart that there has never been a time in our nation's history more critical than now to have the need is there for men to step up, step forward, and be who God's created to call them to be. Now is it. But you know what? It's going to take a team effort, and it's going to take a completely different approach. A radical one, a real one, a relentless one, and one of relevancy. The time is now to make a difference, to change the world. If you haven't gone, I encourage you, visit servantwarriorministries.org. Find out more. Find out how you can get involved. Find out how you can implement some of these things, how to get radical in your communities, how to meet guys where they are, and truly share the love of Christ. It's a tough call, but one that we feel is so vital and necessary to stop the circle of generations of men who don't know what it is to be a godly man. Hey, until we meet again, be real, be radical, be relentless, and be relevant. Hey, and armor up. Have a great day.